The silent psychology of staying broke even when you're trying to build wealth. The brutal truth: you do not rise to the level of your financial goals, you fall to the level of your financial identity. Most people think they have a money problem, but they actually have a nervous system problem. Your habits are not random, they are emotional survival patterns, quietly shaping your future every single day. The pattern interrupt. Stop waiting for motivation to suddenly transform your finances. The reason most budgets fail is because they rely on willpower instead of biology. Lasting financial discipline is not built through punishment and restriction. It is built by teaching your brain that consistency is safe. The psychological reframe. What if wealth is less about how much money you make and more about how your brain responds to discomfort? Many people sabotage their financial future not because they are lazy, but because their nervous system has been conditioned to chase immediate relief instead of long-term stability. Tiny habits can completely rewire that internal pattern. Modern financial culture is emotionally exhausting. People are constantly exposed to lifestyles they cannot afford. Luxury becomes normalized. Impulse spending becomes emotional regulation. Every advertisement is engineered to trigger urgency. Every scroll creates comparison. Every purchase promises relief, status, comfort, or identity. And over time, many people develop a fractured relationship with money. Not because they lack intelligence, but because their nervous system becomes addicted to short-term emotional rewards. The human brain naturally prioritizes immediate gratification. This is survival biology. Your brain evolved to seek fast rewards because ancient survival depended on immediate resources, not retirement accounts or investment portfolios. The problem is that modern consumer culture exploits this wiring constantly. This creates what psychologists often call present bias. The brain overvalues immediate pleasure while undervaluing future stability. So people continue spending in ways that temporarily soothe emotional discomfort while quietly damaging long-term security. This is why financial discipline often feels emotionally painful. Saving money can trigger feelings of deprivation. Delayed gratification can feel like loss. Investing can create anxiety because the reward is invisible for long periods of time. Meanwhile, spending provides instant dopamine, instant stimulation, instant emotional escape, instant identity reinforcement. Your brain begins associating spending with emotional safety. And this is where most financial advice fails, because people try to change behavior through shame and extreme discipline. They create massive restrictive budgets, aggressive goals, punishing routines, sudden lifestyle overhauls. But the nervous system resists drastic change. Why? Because the brain interprets large behavioral shifts as threats. This creates internal friction. And eventually the person burns out emotionally and returns to old patterns. This is why micro habits are so powerful psychologically. Micro habits bypass resistance. Instead of forcing massive sacrifice, they create tiny moments of success the nervous system can tolerate safely. The goal is not intensity, the goal is consistency. A micro financial habit may seem almost insignificant. Saving $1, automatically rounding up purchases into savings, waiting 10 minutes before impulse buying, checking your account balance daily without judgment, transferring a tiny amount into investments every week, tracking one expense category instead of your entire financial life. These habits feel too small to matter, but neurologically they matter enormously. Because every repeated action strengthens a neural pathway. Your brain learns through repetition, not through dramatic emotional promises. Each small financial action becomes evidence. Evidence that you are capable of discipline. Evidence that you can tolerate delayed gratification. Evidence that financial stability is becoming part of your identity, This creates what psychologists call an identity loop. The more consistently you perform a habit, the more your brain begins associating that behavior with who you are. At first, someone says, "I'm trying to save money." But eventually, after enough repetition, the internal narrative shifts. I am someone who protects my future. I am someone who builds stability. I am someone who manages money intentionally. This psychological shift changes behavior permanently, because identity-driven behavior is far more sustainable than motivation-driven behavior. Motivation fluctuates constantly. Identity remains stable. This is also why automation becomes so powerful for financial growth. Automation removes emotional negotiation. Every financial decision drains mental energy. Should I save this? Should I spend this? Should I invest today? Should I wait? Over time, constant decision-making creates fatigue. Automation eliminates this exhaustion. When tiny savings transfers happen automatically, the nervous system gradually adapts without triggering emotional panic. This is how many people successfully build long-term wealth. Not through dramatic overnight transformations, but through invisible consistency repeated over years. There is also an important emotional component to financial discipline that many people ignore: scarcity fear. People who grew up around financial instability often develop deep nervous system hypervigilance around money. Some overspend to feel temporary emotional relief. Others become excessively controlling with money because uncertainty feels dangerous. Some avoid looking at finances entirely because it triggers shame or anxiety. Financial habits are rarely just mathematical. They are emotional. This is why healing your relationship with money requires self-awareness, not self-hatred. Shaming yourself into discipline usually backfires, because shame creates emotional stress. And stressed nervous systems often seek quick dopamine relief through spending. Sustainable financial discipline requires emotional safety, not punishment. This is where patience becomes essential. Tiny habits often feel meaningless at first. The progress looks invisible, the results seem slow. But compound growth is psychological before it becomes financial. Every small repeated action trains the brain to trust consistency over intensity. And eventually, the nervous system stops resisting discipline. What once felt restrictive begins feeling stabilizing. What once felt difficult begins feeling automatic. This is how real behavioral rewiring happens. Not through one moment of inspiration, but through thousands of tiny repetitions. There is also freedom in realizing you do not need to become obsessed with money to become financially healthy. Extreme hustle culture often creates burnout. People begin treating self-worth like a bank account. But true financial discipline is not constant obsession. It is calm intentionality. It is building systems that quietly support your future while still allowing you to live your life in the present. Over time, micro habits create something deeper than savings. They create self-trust. You begin proving to yourself that you can make decisions aligned with your long-term well-being. That changes confidence internally. Because financial peace is not only about income, it is about reducing the constant psychological chaos surrounding money. Beloved, wealth is rarely built through one massive decision. Most financial stability is created quietly through tiny repeated choices that teach the nervous system how to tolerate consistency, patience, and delayed gratification. Stop waiting for a perfect budget, a giant paycheck, or a sudden wave of motivation to save you. Real transformation begins when you stop trying to become wealthy overnight and start becoming someone who practices small acts of financial integrity daily. Your future is not shaped by intensity, it is shaped by repetition.